Bullet heavens don't usually let you lose your loot. Hellforged does. It's an extraction bullet heaven where the demons are the easy part, and the hard part is deciding when to walk out. You're playing a bullet heaven with looter-shooter guts. You pre-craft your build before the run, instead of praying for good drops. Then you drop into a demon-infested map that gets generated fresh every time. You clear hordes. You dash out of a wall of projectiles. You pop overcharge when the screen thickens, and you need something dead right now. You let the barrier eat a hit instead of your health bar. Gear falls constantly, all of it stamped with modifiers that change how you fight rather than just how hard you hit. And at any point you can call an extraction and bank what you're carrying, or stay in and get greedy. That's the game in one breath. So here's the load-bearing system, and it isn't the shooting, it's the leaving. Most things in this genre run on a survival timer. You outlast the clock, you collect the payout, you queue again, and the only real decision is which upgrade you take at each level. This one hands the payout decision to me and then makes me sit with it. Extract mid-battle and the run ends clean with whatever you've got in your pockets. Stay in, and the pile gets better, right up until it doesn't, and then you're walking out with nothing but a lesson. Every run being framed as a heist sounds like marketing language, until you're 2 rooms past where you're meant to stop. Watching a modifier drop you actually want. Doing the math on whether you can survive the walk back. That's the tension engine, and I think it's the smartest thing in here. It gets more layered once the loot economy plugs into it. Gear you don't want gets salvaged down into currency. That currency goes into upgrading the equipment you did keep. Better equipment survives deeper into a map, which means you can hold off on the extract longer, which means richer drops, which means more salvage. The loop closes on itself and every single piece of it feeds the same question. Leave now or push? Even the ability upgrades are in on it. Dash gets stronger, so I gambled on 1 more room. Overcharge starts hitting hard enough to delete an elite pack, so I told myself the walkback was fine. The barrier absorbing a hit instead of my health bar is exactly the kind of safety margin that talks me into bad decisions, which is the polite way of saying it works. And because you build before you drop in, a bad run isn't random punishment. It's usually me picking wrong and finding out 60 seconds too late. The look does a lot of quiet work too. Stylized dark fantasy, isometric, demons rendered with enough grime that the screen feels heavy even when nothing's happening. I'll be honest about my own bias here. The art and the atmosphere by a game, the first stretch of my attention before any mechanic has earned it, and this one cashed that in immediately. Dark fantasy is not exactly unexplored territory, but the specific flavor here, the forge, the heat, the sense that you're the thing that got made rather than the hero who showed up, gave me a reason to care about a genre I usually treat as background noise. The atmosphere is also doing mechanical work, because a map that feels genuinely hostile makes the extraction choice land harder. Take away that pressure, and this is just a shooting gallery with a bank button. If this is saving you a bad wishlist ad, a like actually helps. Now the other half, because there's a real one, here's where it starts costing me. The screen readability. This is a bullet heaven crossed with a looter, which means 2 systems competing for the same pixels, and the criticism keeps landing on exactly that seam. Interface problems and worse, not enough information surfaced when you need it. In a game where the entire decision is leave or push, tactical readability isn't the polished item, it's the whole product. If I can't tell at a glance what a modifier does, what my barrier is sitting at, how much of that incoming spray is actually going to connect, then I'm not making a decision, I'm guessing and calling it a decision. Every time I bailed on a run early, it was because I didn't trust what the screen was telling me, not because the fight was too hard. And then there's the part that's just annoying. Enemy behavior gets flaky. Different enemy types with genuinely different attack patterns is a strength, and when it's working, learning which silhouette means dash now versus tank it with the barrier is the good kind of pressure. But the eye has moments where it stops being an opponent and starts being a physics object, and in a game asking me to make brave calls under fire, an enemy that forgets what it's doing cheapens the win. One reviewer straight up came away more frustrated than entertained, and I don't think that's an unfair read of a bad session here. The one that worries me longer term is the customization ceiling. Character building leans almost entirely on gear and modifiers, so the variety you get is the variety the loot table hands you. That's fine early, when every drop is teaching you something and the discovery is doing the work. My honest pattern with games like this, and I've watched it happen to me repeatedly, is that the first stretch is brilliant, and the post-completion pull is where I quietly stop launching it. It The only thing that changes about my character is a stronger version of the same gear. I know exactly how that ends. I get to the good middle, I have a great time, and I never see the credits. So who is this actually for? Get this if you want your roguelike runs to end on your call instead of a timer's. And the idea of choosing between a safe payout and a greedy one is the part that makes you lean forward. Get it if you're an RPG person who likes build assembly and modifier hunting but doesn't have 60 hours to give a campaign, because pre-crafting a loadout and testing it in a 20-minute run is that itch in a smaller container. And get it if atmosphere is a real factor for you, if a stylized dark fantasy world that looks properly unpleasant is worth something on its own. Skip it. Or at least go in with your eyes open if you need deep character customization beyond what drops, because the identity you build here is the one the loot table offers. Skip it if cluttered combat screens are a deal breaker, because the information problem is the most consistent complaint, and it is not a small one in a bullet hell. And skip it if you're the type who needs a long tail, the kind of endless replay hook that keeps you coming back a month later. Nothing in what I've seen convinces me that hook is built yet. So should you actually pull the trigger on this one, my call is worth it with a timing asterisk. It isn't out, there's no price up, and it's landing sometime this year, which means the only real decision in front of you today is whether to wishlist it and play the demo. That's not a hedge, that's the single most useful thing available, because the exact thing that might break this for you, whether the screen stays readable when the projectiles and the loot are both fighting for your eyes, is something you can test in 15 minutes yourself. If the extraction decision grabs you in the demo, it'll grab you in the full thing, because that mechanic is fully intact, and is the reason this stands apart from everything else in the bullet heaven pile. Where I'd hold off is if you want a finished, deep, long-haul loot game on day one. Wait a couple of weeks past launch and see whether the interface got the attention it needs, and whether there's anything to chase after the loot table stops surprising you. This is single player, so there's no group to carry a rough patch for you either. Buy it for the mid-game arc, the stretch where builds start clicking, and you're genuinely torn about extracting. That part is strong. Don't buy it expecting a triumphant finale, because I'm not convinced it's there yet. The extraction button is the only reason this game is interesting, and if the full release softens the punishment for greed to keep things friendly, it turns into another wave clearer with nicer lighting. What's your line? Do you bank the second something good drops, or do you push one more room and eat the loss when it goes wrong? Straight answers on games worth your money. See you in the next one.